I was watching something from, I think it's a Chinese channel, and I saw them do like a brain surgery. So I asked my husband, so I said, do you think they can do a brain surgery and give my baby a new brain? Because if she has a new brain, then she'll be fine, you know. And he said, do you want to test it? Do you know what it means to open the skull of this child? It's 50-50. Is you know the pain should go through. What if it doesn't work? Okay, then whose brain are you going to take from? Because when you wish that you have a brain of a child of this age, then that means you're wishing that another child of this age goes down so that this your baby can be well. So I feel like that's a little selfish.
Thank you so much, you guys, for joining me again in today's video. Hope you're all doing great. Guys, I literally cried my eyes out watching this video. Like, I think this is the most emotional video I have watched. Both parents coming out to say what their own child has been through. Like, this video is so emotional, guys. Just make sure to grab a tissue to clean your tears, because it rained tears all through, guys. Let me allow you all to watch the video. I will be back.
Should I go ahead?
Oh, yeah, please.
All right. So of course in 2015 was when we got married, and in 2016 my wife delivered of our baby girl. Her name is Eke Aya. All right. So
the 19th of October.
19th of October 2016. Yeah. So now that night was one of the most horrible nights in our life. Like, very, very horrible night. I think on the 16th, on the 7th, 18 was when the labor started. Yeah, on the 18th. It was a day before.
It was like the early hours of the day. Early hours of the
19th.
Yeah, it was the early hours of the 19th.
Okay.
That was when the labor started.
In the morning.
You know, and we had a good progression of labor according to the medical teams that checked us. And of course, during the antenatal and the checkup from the doctors, everything was fine. Even the placenta position, the water in the, you know, everything was fine basically up until the time for delivery, you know. And I think at some point in the hospital, of course we're in a public hospital, government hospital, and at some point when I was going through my pain, it was like I think it was like it was not a medical personnel that checked me at some point. I feel like the nurses, everybody just went to go and rest, and the person I saw that was trying to clean the room, so I just assumed that might be a cleaner or something that was now checking me at some point, you know. But I had progressed greatly, and then the doctor came out like, okay, in the next few minutes or so, not up to an hour, you're going to have to start entering to push up, you know. So that was the plan. And by the time it was time to push, we had some issues, you know, and the baby's head will be coming out, and somehow it will slide back in. I don't know, the nurses were like shouting, and at some point they were like that I should not allow the baby. They were acting as if maybe I was the one that was sucking the baby back inside of my body, you know, or pushing the baby back, but the baby's head would crown, would be like push, you know, that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, the baby came out. Baby was stressed, and baby was not crying or breathing. Not crying, let's say not crying.
I think from
Yeah,
that
not
point,
breathing.
let me share my experience.
You know, I at least I saw some things happening
Okay.
inside there.
Okay.
So I don't know when they called you.
Okay.
But from my own point of view, the inside of the place, baby came out. They now, you know how they try to tap the baby. They now said, okay, oxygen, bring the oxygen, just casually, you know. So you think that okay, there's oxygen in the room. So they brought one container. So they carried that container and pressed straight to the baby's nose, poke up, and they're like, it's empty. They said this thing is empty. There's no oxygen here. Can you bring oxygen? So that's where the whole drama started.
So, so baby was brought out, you know, with an oxygen mask, with a cylinder, and of course, the cylinder was not producing oxygen, but rather, you know, some sort of water. So I had to unmask the baby and took my daughter into the car. Now the ambulance they brought, I think there was no fuel as at the time too. So we were left with the only option to drive with the baby. So my mother-in-law stepped into the car, and then we drove from General Hospital then to another hospital, to Teaching Hospital, you know. And
So in other words, what this actually meant was that in the whole of the in the whole of the hospital, there was no oxygen.
no oxygen. Yeah. So
this is a baby that was gasping for air.
already from the labor room, and now has no
Has to
oxygen
be transported, still gasping.
for about over 5 to 10 minute distance, and then even getting to Teaching Hospital again, we have to start filling forms and buying cards and all of that.
And then the oxygen was still not in the building, so they had to send someone they had to say one of you people had to go to outside of there, down a little bit
to get the oxygen, because
distance.
I was there with my friends as well, you know. So I mean, and then I think even a lot of drugs that the baby needed that night, we had to run out to pharmacies to buy those drugs.
Because it was not readily available,
you know,
in the hospital.
So yeah, I was running from one place to the other, and guess what? My wife was in another hospital, also not strong. So my wife was in hospital B, the baby was in hospital C, both of them in different points. But by the grace of God and the mercies of God, she was able to regain herself, and so that's how we now brought her to how do you call it, ICU, intensive care, SBU, right? Yeah, so that's how we brought her to the other hospital, and the baby was under the oxygen for
almost a week.
Yeah. You know. And how long did you guys stay in the hospital?
We stayed for almost a month.
Almost a month in the hospital, you know, and from all this period, most of the time she has some crises and some other stuff like that. In some situations where
in the hospital, right? Yeah, in the hospital. Of course, she was in the oxygen, and we had to run some tests. I had to put our eyes on. Of course, you guys know how these places can be. There's no special care for you. So even as a nursing mom with healing wounds, tears, that was really, really bad. You know, still had to check on these children, because sometimes, you know, they had to teach us. At some point, we used to, you know, say that we can work as nurses because we really, you know, soaked ourselves into the everyday life of the children. So you have to, I think the baby entered some crisis sometimes, that we had to look for lines, and then they had to like shave her hair to put drip on her head, you know. And then while we are doing all this, they're also trying to run some tests, scan of the brain and all that, because of the extent of the lack of oxygen from birth, you know. So then the analysis came, and then the diagnosis, right?
Yeah.
So when the diagnosis came, my husband had some people around there that because she used to do medicine and surgery, so they're like medical colleagues. So you know how your colleague wants to be open with you. I think I'll leave that for him to share. But by this time, doctors had, even if they want to try to give it to you in a very nice way, but they explained to me that based on the time the baby brain stayed without oxygen flow, which was up to 30 minutes or more than 30 minutes of gasping for air. So the damage was really extensive, like it was very serious. So they told her that told us that she had the cerebral palsy. Now this is not your regular palsy. Let's say, you know how there are different types of burns, so this one was like a 3rd degree. It's a very serious level, you know.